Hello, little friends. It's Samuel here. Today I'm going to tell you a very special story from the Bible. It's a story about the faith and trust of a very good man named Abraham. He lived in a beautiful place surrounded by nature, and he always talked to God. Abraham was a great friend of God, and his faith was huge. One day, something very different happened. God called Abraham and asked him for something that seemed impossible and very hard. God said, "Abraham, take your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love so much, and offer him as a sacrifice on a mountain that I will show you." Imagine Abraham's heart in that moment. He was surprised and thoughtful, but he trusted God so much that he knew God had a greater plan. The next morning, very early, Abraham got up. He prepared his donkey, gathered the wood for the sacrifice, and called his son Isaac and his servants. And so they began their journey toward Mount Moriah, the place God had told him about. They walked for 3 days. Imagine walking for so long while carrying such a heavy command in your heart. But Abraham did not doubt. He stayed strong, looking at the mountains and trusting. On the 3rd day, Abraham saw the place from afar. He told his servants to wait there while he and Isaac went up the mountain to worship God. Then Isaac, who was a curious boy, looked at his father and asked, "Father, we have the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for the sacrifice?" That must have been such a hard question for Abraham to answer. But with the faith that only he had, Abraham looked lovingly at his son and said, "My son, God himself will provide the lamb for the sacrifice." He trusted that God would take care of everything. When they reached the top of the mountain, Abraham did everything God had asked. He built an altar with stones, carefully arranged the wood, and with a heavy but obedient heart, he tied up his son Isaac and placed him on the altar. It was a very tense moment. Abraham lifted his hand, ready to obey God's command, showing his unshakable faith. But suddenly, a loud voice came from heaven. It was an angel of the Lord shouting, "Abraham, Abraham." And he answered, "Here I am." The angel then said, "Do not lay a hand on the boy. Do not harm him. Now I know that you fear God because you have not withheld your only son from me." At that moment, God saw that Abraham's faith was true and that he trusted God above all things. What a relief! Then Abraham looked around and saw something amazing. Caught by its horns in a bush was a ram. God had indeed provided the sacrifice. Abraham was so happy and grateful. He took the ram and offered it in place of his son. God is faithful and always takes care of his children, even when we don't understand his plans. After all of this, the angel called Abraham a second time and said that because of his obedience and faith, God would give him a great blessing. God promised that Abraham's family would be as numerous as the stars in the sky and the sand on the seashore. And through his descendants, all the nations of the earth would be blessed. Abraham became the father of a great nation, all because he trusted in God. This story teaches us something very important. Little friends, trusting in God, even when things seem hard or scary, is the most important thing we can do. Sometimes we don't understand why things happen, but we can be sure that God always has a good plan for us and always takes care of us. He is our Father, and He loves us so much. I hope you enjoyed today's story about Abraham. If you learned something new today, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any of our Bible stories. Share it with your friends so they can also learn about this incredible act of faith. A big hug and see you next time.